Alan Hunt joins us from his home studio. All right, Alan, everybody's talking about Emmanuel quickly. How are we to process what we saw the other night and where things may be headed going forward?
Yeah, he just keeps pushing the envelope, doesn't he? He keeps making the decision harder or maybe even easier for the coaching staff to move him into the starting lineup, because the argument can be made just about what you see. What is the eye telling you, right? Trust what you see, but what you saw as a player in that fourth quarter take over. And we've talked about how important scoring is from the point guard position, Wally. I've been pointing it out a lot, how important that is to scoring, and he was able to do that. The Knicks almost made what would have been an incredible comeback come to fruition. The numbers, I can give you a million different numbers, but the number I think that stands out the most is one that I know Tom Thibodeau points to all the time, which is your net rating. I'm not going to give you net rating because that's still pretty much even between the two over the course of the season, but let's just do the last 7 games. Elfrid Payton in the last 7 games has played 202 minutes at the point guard position. He's +3. Emmanuel quickly has played 137 minutes at the point guard position. He's +16. That tells the story right there. The Knicks are a better team when he's on the floor.
Yeah, they were a better team when he was on the floor last game. You also got to take these net ratings for what they're worth. Elfrid Payton's going against starters, and Emmanuel quickly's going against bench players predominantly.
The coach puts a lot into net rating, Wally.
I hear you, no question. But, he was phenomenal against Portland. He really was. He single-handedly brought the team back. They needed scoring and shot making, and that's what he brought to the table. I think he can kind of get a pulse of when he's out there on the floor, how aggressive he needs to be shooting the basketball. Obviously, the coaching staff wants him to shoot, wants him to be aggressive, wants him to look to score, and he sure did it pretty nicely with 31 big points against Portland.
Guys, it quickly starts. Where's the scoring going to come from on the second unit? Tom Thibodeau on why quickly will still come off the bench.
We're obviously very pleased with Emmanuel, the way he's progressed. And then he has great versatility. He has the ability to play both on the ball and off the ball. And so we like the group that he's with right now. And we think that it functions best that way. And so you want to have everyone play to their strengths, and also you want to cover up weaknesses. And so right now we feel the best opportunity for us to win is doing the things that we're doing.
You look at how they're constructed. They need quickly scoring in the second unit right now. And if he's going to finish the games when he's playing well, what's the difference if he starts or not?
I've been saying that all along. It's all about who finishes the game. And I just think at this point, allowing Emmanuel to watch the beginning of the game, watch how teams are playing, watch how teams are defending the pick and roll, it gives him a chance to digest some stuff, talk to the coaches, and then go in and make his imprint on the game, which he's been doing wonderfully coming off the bench.
All right, so quickly, again, I'll come off the bench. Meantime, Alec Burks is going to start. Reggie Bullock Allen remains out with the neck injury. Burks came out of Colorado in 2011. First 7.5 years he played with Utah, and he was really good the other night, scoring 18 points.
Yeah, it was good to see him get back into his rhythm, as you saw when he came back from the injury. It took him a couple of games to get the rust off and kind of get himself into game condition. As we've talked about many times, there is a big difference between being in shape and being in game condition. He was out longer than anyone expected him to be out with that ankle issue, and it was great to see him get back at 5 of 8 from downtown in that game, which was good. The jumper looked nice and smooth, like we remember it right before the injury. I just love the way he shoots because it's so compact and it's such a smooth release. There's no jump, there's no movement at all. It's just a nice, very fundamental looking jump shot, and it's a soft, the way it goes through the net is beautiful. And it was great to see him get that back, so it makes you feel like, okay, he's back on track. That part's important. They need his scoring in the starting lineup. They also needed it certainly off the bench, but add another vet that can score, and that's a valuable piece that the Knicks now have gotten back. And by the way, they love him in Utah. I would expect he's going to get, if there was crowds, a huge ovation when his return.
Yeah, zone buster. That's what the Knicks need. You can't play zone when he's out there on the floor because he's such a good catch-and-shoot player. You give him a little bit of space, he's going to knock it down. He did struggle for the first couple games when he came back off the injury, but he was phenomenal in that game against Portland. And it's nice to have another shot maker out there to open up the floor for Julius Randle to operate.
All right, so Burks is going to start off the bench tonight. Austin Rivers. And Austin Rivers was phenomenal against Utah in the first meeting. Remember, 14 straight points in the fourth quarter as the Knicks beat the Jazz by 12 here in New York. We take it back now to January. Are rolling. They lost to the Knicks on January the 6th. Haven't lost since. That's an 8-game winning streak. They lead the league in threes made per game, almost 17. And the Knicks are last in the league in that category, under 10. Jazz also lead the league in rebounds a game at 49.4. And Allen, over this stretch here, the 8-game winning streak, Donovan Mitchell is averaging 27 a game.
And he had a terrible game at the Garden, if you remember, when he did play, when the Jazz played and the Knicks beat them. He did not play well at all in that game, surprising with his only game at the Garden each season. But, you mentioned the three-point shooting by this team. During this 8-game winning streak, Bill, they're making 19 threes a game, making 19, and shooting 44% from three-point range. It's just incredible how they use the three-point ball and how they use it as such a weapon. And we've talked about how the Knicks do not shoot the three a lot. They shoot it pretty well, but they don't take enough volume. It's going to be very difficult to keep up with them offensively the way they shoot the three-point ball. You got to defend it.
Yeah, they are lights out. They move that ball really well. Rudy Gobert really anchors their defense. This is a team that I think is going to have revenge on their mind against the Knicks after the way the Knicks played and beat them down here at the Garden. This is going to be a fun one, and the Knicks got to defend that three-point line. Knicks are a good defensive team and good at defending the three, so they got to do that tonight. All
right, some debate from Shaquille O'Neal on TNT last week about where Donovan Mitchell ranks in terms of the upper echelon of players in the league. Take it back to Thursday on TNT.
Part of this is Shaq. I said tonight that you are one of my favorite players, but you don't have what it takes to get to the next level. I said it on purpose. I want you to hear it. What do you have to say about that?
All right. That's it.
That's it?
All right. That's it.
Okay, cool.
I mean,
I wanted you to hear it.
I've been hearing, Shaq, I've been hearing that since my rookie year. I'm just going to get better and do what I do.
Good.
At the end of the day.
Well, that's what I wanted you to hear you say.
Yes,
Love
sir.
your game, brother. Keep it up.
Appreciate it.
That's rough, Wally.
That is rough, and I appreciate his answer because in today's day and age, a lot of guys just like to throw back and punch back. But hey, Shaq has accomplished a lot in his career, and Donovan Mitchell's a humble guy that wants his play and his work to do the talking. So he feels like he has some more work to do in his career, and he's got time to do it. And I wouldn't put anything past Donovan Mitchell. He's been proving a lot of people wrong.
You know what? I think what Shaq first was doing there was saying, I was critical of you, and I don't want you to hear it from third party. I don't want you to hear it on social media. I don't want to sit here and interview you and tell you how great I think you are without also letting you know I did say this before the game about you. So I think he was just trying to be stand up, which we don't see enough of when it comes to interviews. But of course, if you're Donovan Mitchell right after a great performance, the last thing you want to hear is a Hall of Famer and a legend say, I don't think you have what it takes to get to the next level as a player. And I just said that to challenge you. I don't think Shaq said that to challenge him. I think he meant it. And that's going to be the challenge for guys like Donovan Mitchell and a lot of the young players in the league. You have an example like a LeBron James, who's still the best player in the game and arguably an MVP after the first quarter. The way he plays the game and how hard he plays it, who's a guy? Luka? Is it Donovan? Who is the guy that's going to be able to take that mantle when LeBron does finally leave this game? Who's got it in him?
Yeah, it's a legit question, too. Like, I don't think he's at the level of a Damian Lillard yet. I don't think will he get to a Russell Westbrook level? I mean, there are a lot of debates as to how high Donovan Mitchell's ceiling is. Only time will tell. He's got a lot of time.
All right, so the Jazz, Donovan Mitchell, whether he's in the upper echelon or not, is an elite player. They have Rudy Gobert, and they are playing the hottest basketball in the entire league, so a huge challenge tonight for the Knicks. Coming up,
Salt Lake City taking on the Jazz, 11.5-point road underdogs. Total to 11.5. Total's where the smart money is targeting. We've seen this drop from the opening number, despite the majority of the action on the over. Curious number to keep an eye on. Jazz have gone 3 straight to the over. Knicks 2 of
MSG. Julius Randle getting ready. Leads the Knicks in scoring, in rebounding, and also in assists. Welcome back, everyone. Tonight we work with heavy hearts as the Knicks family is mourning the passing of Hawthorne Wingo, who passed away at the age of 73. A fan favorite because of his name and his story, from working in the garment district to playing for the Harlem Wizards to playing in the minor leagues, then playing for the Knicks for a total of 4 seasons, the first of which was in 72-73 on the team that won the title. Say hello now to Clyde Frazier, who, of course, will be on the game call tonight with Mike Breen. Clyde, you played with Wingo. He didn't play a lot. What made him so popular?
Well, like you say, it's the name. So with that name, he should have been a poet or writer. So we knew he overcame a lot of adversity. You remember, you just alluded to the Garment District, playing with the Wizards, so he'd been all around. But what a terrific person, man. Very effervescent, gregarious person, infectious personality, was always smiling, was never envious. You know, he was the low guy on the totem pole, never envious of my success. And Willis always encouraging us, telling me, Clyde, you're better than West, man. You're better than Robinson, always giving me confidence. So that's why he was so endeared to the players as well as the fans, because they loved his name. After 2 or 3 weeks they get paid, they come and ask you for money, or they retire. You know, he knew I had a restaurant, all this. I never saw Wingo come up. The man had terrific pride. That's why you had to love the guy, man, for what he was, the character of the guy. So Willis always encouraging us, telling me, Clyde, you're better than West, man. You're better than Robinson, always giving me confidence. So that's why he was so endeared to the players as well as the fans, because they loved his name, they loved his story, so they really fell in love with Wingo.
Clyde, any one story that sticks out at all?
No, just the kind person that he was. And I was telling people that this guy never asked me for money. You know, there are a lot of guys you play with, after 2 or 3 weeks they get paid, they come and ask you for money. The man had terrific pride. That's why you had to love the guy, man, for what he was, the character of the guy. And you know, we all endeared him and loved him. And Red Holtzman was really his #1 follower and keeping him on the team for those 4 years with the Knicks.
All right, Clyde, as always, we appreciate it. We'll see you soon on the game call with Mike Breen. Meantime, we also remember Kobe Bryant, who exactly 1 year ago today, on January the 26th, 2020, along with his daughter and 7 others, killed in that awful helicopter crash. So shocking. At first, you didn't believe it. And as a group here, we had to scramble to put things together for what was a 5:30 pregame. It was so hard, so emotional. And what really resonated with everybody was the fact that he was
To him quite a bit. He beat us in the playoffs, seemed like every single year when I was with the Timberwolves. Just his legacy as a person, and it says a lot about what you do with your life once you're out of the limelight. And he was giving back. He was great, you know, as far as his Mamba Academy. He did
doing what many fathers do, and that's take his daughter to a basketball game. Back now with Alan and Wally. And Wally, it's hard to believe it's been a year.
I know.
What has the year meant to your memory of what happened and Kobe's legacy?
Well, it's been a rough year, to say the least. Who would have thought we would have been going into a global pandemic? And it reminds us how brutal 2020 was. But I just continue to think about his legacy, not only as a player. Obviously, I played against him and lost to him quite a bit. He beat us in the playoffs, seemed like every single year when I was with the Timberwolves. Just his legacy as a person, and it says a lot about what you do with your life once you're out of the limelight. And he found his way in retirement, and that speaks a lot to him as a father, as a friend, and as a person, and also as a husband too. And I think that's what I'll remember about him. And he was lost way too soon, and you know, we all miss him quite a bit. And days like this remind us of you know, the loss.
You know, while you bring up the girl dad thing, and we all, obviously all of us are girl dads, right? And you don't have to have a daughter to be able to relate, but that, I think, what made Kobe so relatable after his career. During his career, we just kind of idolized the way he played, but it is amazing how after the career, he became so much more relatable to all of us. The idea of just hard work every day, of being passionate about what you do, but lessons, I think, that we've learned from some of the things he's talked about and things that he's learned.
Something that kind of brought him back down to our level, so to speak. So really hard to believe it's been a year, but we remember Kobe Bryant. Coming up next, as always, we will conclude with our matchup to watch, and Alan will have a stat to watch as well. Donovan.
After hearing about the tragic death, that he then understood it, and it helped his mentality as an athlete. So like I said, it is, you know, I like to say, instead of mourning, we like to celebrate a life. And I feel like a year later, his presence is a lot greater in our lives than it was when he was living, and maybe that's the gift.
Well said. Well said. More relatable, as I mentioned, and I am the father of 2 girls myself, because he was doing what we often do, take our daughter or son to some type of event or activity, and it was something that kind of brought him back down to our level, so to speak. So really hard to believe it's been a year, but we remember Kobe Bryant. Coming up next, as always, we will conclude with our matchup to 460. Over-under for the 2 teams combined. Point total for the game, 212. Back now in the Corner 3, presented by Michelob Ultra. Michelob Ultra, it's only worth it if you enjoy it. Wally, how about your matchup to watch?
Battle of star 2 guards, Donovan Mitchell and R.J. Barrett, both young stars in this league that are completely taking the league by storm, starting with Donovan Mitchell, who's ready to take the next step, I think. I mean, this guy's done pretty much everything. The big max contract, he's the face of the franchise with the Utah Jazz. He can score in every way. Tremendous three-point shooter. I mean, he's made a ton of threes already in his career. One of the all-time leaders as far as at this point. And R.J. Barrett's got to bounce back. You know, he had a rough game against Portland. He's got to bounce back tonight, be a little more aggressive on the offensive end of the floor. You have to make Donovan Mitchell defend and use his size and strength, too, against Donovan Mitchell, who is who RJ's about 3-4 inches taller than.
All right, so from our matchup to watch, Alan Hahn has always has some numbers to watch. Alan, what do you have?
Yeah, well, let's take a look at ratings here with this, because the Jazz right now are 106.8 in offensive rating, defensive rating, which is 3rd in the league. The Knicks at 106.9, 4th. So right now, both of them in defense. Offense is where the comparisons stop. The Knicks are 25th in the league with an offensive rating of 105.5. Utah comes in at 113.7, which is the 6th highest in the league. And oh, by the way, during this 8-game winning streak, that offensive rating, sizzling, 118.8, guys. That's like me and Walt, top 4 in the league. That's good. Both of them playing about the same pace as well in the bottom 3rd in the league. The Knicks at the slowest pace.